Welcome to my super type A attempt at being Zen, the podcast. My name is Risha York, and I will be your host. If you are overworked, overtired, overstretched, overwhelmed, and just over it, you are in the right place. We like to say we are currently working towards Zen-ish. I'm thrilled that you've joined us. Let's see who will be supporting us on our path to Zen today. Welcome back to part 2 with Nina Purewal. Let's hop right in and listen to all the wonderful things she has to share with us. And I was having this conversation with my son yesterday. He's 7. And he said, what's that mean? He came in the door singing this song. You know that song from Dirty Heads, Vacation? Have you ever heard it?
No.
It's like my theme song. I sing it all the time. It goes like, I'm on vacation every single day because I love my occupation.
Oh, it might be my new song. I love that.
It's really good. Yeah. So I sing it all the time to myself because I feel so grateful to be able to do the work that I'm doing. It's so fulfilling and I love it so much. And it took a while to find my place here, but everything I did leading up to this point contributed to getting to me this job, doing this work. Right. Yes. So I'm grateful for all of it. Whether it served me at the time or not is a different conversation, but it all led me here and I'm so grateful for it. And I said to my son yesterday, that's the secret, is to find something you want to do with your time on a regular basis that you are passionate and excited about. You want to get out of bed every day and go and do that thing and you can't wait to do it.
Yes.
And he was like, oh, well then I'm totally going to be a skateboarder. And I was like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my daughter is going to be the next Taylor Swift, apparently. So, but you know, there's a lot of people that don't believe that don't believe that. And I there's a Stephen Covey book written many years ago, but he said, you know, if you're the perfect trifecta is if you are passionate about it, there's a societal need, and you love doing it.
Yeah.
If those 3 things align, you know, you're laughing. And yes, it's baby steps. You're not going to go to 0 to 60 real quick. It's going to take time to get there, but there is a way to do what you're passionate about and sustain yourself. And there's practicality. You know, the first few years, it was like I had to have some talks with my partner. Okay, I'm not going to be making this much for,
that's how it works.
You know, but and we live in a world, like, it's not the 80s and 90s anymore, where it's like, yeah, you go to work and it's 9 to 5 and we live in a world people are making money doing all being influencers, like content creation, like this passion, that there's all kinds of things out there. And especially the corporate type A's, that's the biggest thing I remember thinking, well, not the biggest, but like when it comes to work and the corporate sector, is when I came back from the ashram, I thought, there is a entire world of careers.
Yes.
Why do we think, you know, we go to business school and then we have the 9 to 5 desk job? No, there's so many things we could do. And all of my years in corporate served me so well. I don't regret a minute of it. I liked what I did. You know, I love what I do now. I love it, but I love what I do now. But there's so much opportunity, and we have to give ourselves the chance to do what we love, because life is short and you never know. And when you do that, the way you're impacting people, you know, it's so fulfilling.
And I feel like that corporate space gave me some credibility when I came to my own personal space, where it was like, okay, I've done this. Like, I used to be a corporate sales and leadership coach. So
there you go. There you go. That makes sense.
So for the largest IT company in Canada, second largest in North America. So I'm, you know, when I read your book, your and Kate's book, I was I was like, I relate to this so much.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I have been in this space. I understand what they're talking about. And it's funny because it's also the inspiration for what I do now, like in an
Yeah.
IT
It's a,
male centric space. I witnessed many women get spoken over, seen and
oh,
not heard, pushed to the back of the boardroom, not elevated, not supported, and I don't even know if it was intentional or just societal, but I was not okay with it. And I was the loud, outspoken, direct, right? But the reaction to that in a corporate space was very, you're a little intense. People are
yeah.
not always comfortable with you. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Is my honesty off putting? Is it my directness? I'm emulating the leaders in your company
Yeah.
who are all men. I'm emulating that behavior. So what about it coming
Mm.
from me is wrong? Is it
Yes.
because I'm a woman? And this began a bigger conversation because
Bigger conversation.
I don't think that they necessarily thought about it in that way. I
No.
don't believe that they were deliberately trying to be like, you are not a leader because you're a woman. I think that they actually truly believed they were supporting me in my leadership journey. And I loved the job, loved it, loved it. It helped me find a perfect marriage between the coaching aspect, which I loved, my theater degree, and so that performative stuff, but also the creativity to build curriculum and help people understand things that are difficult to understand.
Yeah.
Right. And I was passionate, and that passion was always mistaken for intensity or, eh, but isn't that what we're all looking for is passion?
Yeah. And just to comment on that, this year, out of all years, I've been getting the most requests for women empowerment, the power of women. And I've been doing, these events, especially during, Women's History Month.
Yeah, same.
And, a lot, they invite everybody. So people who identify as women, people who identify as male, everybody's invited, and everything in between. And um, what's interesting is I did one workshop where it was just women only, people who identify as women only.
Yep.
Oh my goodness, did I realize the work we need to do in this space? And
Yeah.
I've done a lot of research this last year because men and mental health is also a big passion of mine because I
Yeah.
lost my side. And I always think, God, if he actually got help
Yeah.
at the point of empathy with him, like how troubled, how far gone was your mental
Yeah.
state to do that. And so it's really the marrying of women sitting in their power more,
Yeah.
owning their voice more, going against the grain more, and really acting like how men do in the workplace, owning it, but
Or
also
us reframing, not to interrupt, but us reframing women centric approaches to things as also leadership.
exactly. And so, compassion, and you see it now in Harvard Business Review and all that, New York Times, compassionate leadership,
Yes.
vulnerable leadership, all the things that women would tend to suppress. Now it's the superpower.
Yeah.
Now it's superpower. And I saw it with the last corporate team. We had, I worked in startup and we were in 23 countries, and Canada was the leading country. And I believe a lot of that is because I just really cared about my team. I
Yeah.
knew everything that was going on in their personal lives. I knew what they were motivated by, some by money, some by title. But like when we connect as humans with people, they're going to perform differently. And when I did management training, a long time ago, one of the quotes was, your manager is the lens through which you're viewing the world. And so if you're viewing your role, so if you're a manager that cares about them, and this is all the things that, the softer skills that women bring to the workplace that enhance productivity,
Yes.
enhance, how hard people are working or how much they want to work for the company. So yes, you're right. It is about like non-conforming, being who you are, owning who you are, letting go of the shoulds, But I also think there's a lot of work to do for males to let go of the unconscious bias.
Yes.
One woman sitting around the boardroom table subconsciously, oh, that's the mom. Oh, she's probably got to leave at 5. Or, you go to the work party and you get asked, oh, who's watching the kids tonight?
Yeah.
Who's asking the dad? No one's asking the dad that question.
No.
It's so heavy, the unconscious bias.
And it's infuriating as a woman to walk through that space. I mean, I have this conversation with my partner a lot where I'll say, you have no idea the difference between how I'm treated going through the world versus how you're treated going through the world. And I never expect you to understand, because how could you? You've not lived it.
Yes.
Just like I don't understand how, say, a person of color experiences the world. I don't experience it that way.
Right. Yeah. There's so many little nuances, even my hair. Like, it took me till 38 to wear my hair curly. I was white conforming like all through, and it enrages me because in my 20s it was like straight hair, which took me an hour to get straight.
Oh, so much work.
Blonde highlights, green contacts, and suddenly I started wearing curly hair in the pandemic because I'm like, I'm not going to bother straightening it. And everyone's like, you have curly hair? Oh my God, your hair is so amazing. And I just suppressed, little things like that, yeah, people just don't, if you're not having to live in that world, you have no idea. And I think it is on both parties to step up, but especially as a type A woman, you're having to work. And I had a white male say this to me, women have to work 10 times harder just to be heard. And I'm like, thank you for being so woke. But it gets to, no wonder there's imposter syndrome and all that, because like we're fighting uphill.
And no wonder we're exhausted. Like, I want to just, like, everyone listening, I know you're exhausted. I know. Yeah. I am. We all are, right? The other thing is when we're super type A, we feel like we carry this all by ourselves. There's so many of us out there. Put it down for a minute. Put it down, rest, take a week off, go to Hawaii, bitch. Like,
yes. Oh my gosh, right. And this is the thing with women too, if they have families, and I heard a lot of this in the workshop, it's like they're earning the same as their partner or even sometimes more. But at home, it's not 50-50. They're still, when we were working from home through the pandemic, having kids through virtual school, all that craziness, the kid runs to dad, I'm in a meeting, runs to mom, I'm in a meeting too, but somehow mom ends up feeling guilty. And, so it's the burden that we carry at work. It's the burden that we carry at home. And then we can't, I did a workshop with Canadian Tire a while ago, and the woman who introduced me said, there's work and there's home and there's you.
Yeah.
And I loved that. I was like, yeah, let's make space for you. Yeah. Take a fucking week off and go to Hawaii. And I tell my clients all the time, relaxing is productive.
Yeah.
I tell them, have a glass of wine, do what you need to in the evening, watch the Netflix, activate that parasympathetic nervous system, because you're going to be so much more calm. And then don't check your email before bed. Go to bed with that peaceful state of mind.
Yeah.
And how efficient you are the next day versus, oh my God, I got to send this email. I got to do this. I got to do that. No wonder the sympathetic nervous system was built for us being chased by saber-toothed tigers back in the day, so we could defend our lives. Not for when we email. Not for email, please.
Email is my least favorite. When I worked in corporate, if I took one day off, I would come back to 1,200 emails because I bridged sales and HR.
Right.
So everything from sales and marketing, everything from HR came into my inbox.
Wow.
So 1,200 emails a day. And sometimes I hear someone say something in a corporate space where they're like, oh, I hate having meetings. Can it just be done with an email? And I'm like, yeah, okay. Sometimes I hear you, but also at this point, email to me is just noise.
Yeah. And so there was, I talked about this in the book, the woman by the name of Linda Stone, and she coined the term email apnea. We actually suspend our breathing when we open our inbox. Like, that's how fucking stressed out we've become.
How awful is that?
Like, we can't, like, our lives are threatened. Like, this is just, it's gone way too far.
Yeah.
It's gone. The type A is like, yes, put that backpack down. The world is not going to end. If you do, you are going to be a better partner, mother, daughter, whatever it is, you
Yeah.
know, you take time for you. And I'll never forget this. One of my meditations teacher a couple years ago said to me, you know, Nina, if you don't unconditionally love yourself, you're not going to have the capacity to unconditionally love others. And I thought, oh, that's bullshit. Like you know I need more self-love, but I love some. And then I thought about, and it's like that whole very simple analogy. If your cup is not full and you're running on empty, your love or your work or what you put out there, that's going to come from a place of exhaustion, of expectation, of obligation.
Yeah.
And you want to be in a place where you're wanting to give love, not having to give
And I
love.
think this is actually such a great point, because the temperament of the super type A woman holds that responsibility as her top value. I am
Right.
responsible and I belong here. And that sense of belonging and that responsibility is what she frames her whole world around. But what I think we keep forgetting is that sense of responsibility and that sense of belonging to ourselves.
Absolutely. And we feel guilty for it. I've had to work with so many, rid the guilt. I think that's a tip in the book, is like, ditch the fucking guilt.
Yes.
Like, because what you're doing is you're filling your cup. So when you show up to work the next day, when you have your next interaction with your partner or your child, you're in a good place. You're
Yeah.
not pissed off. You're not exhausted. You're not anxious. You're in a good freaking place. And guess what I did for Mother's Day is I went and booked myself a hotel,
Yep.
a day at the spa. And I'm like, I'm going to take a time. And I've never done that. The little arguments we've had over I've never done that. So this year I'm like, you know what? I'm filling my cup.
Good for
And
you.
I don't feel an ounce guilt about it. And I know it's going to serve me
Yeah.
well. It's going to serve them well. It's going to serve my work well. And we have to stop feeling guilty for
Yeah.
taking 2
I
minutes.
spent almost all of last week doing stuff like that. It was my birthday last week.
Oh, well, happy
So
belated.
thank you. So I was like, I'm going to spend the day at that spa. I'm going to have a facial. I want a 90-minute massage. I'm going to like find the balance, do the things for I sent myself flowers and I put the note on
Oh,
it.
you did.
You deserve joy.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
I was
There you
like,
go.
you know what? You have to treat yourself as you want others to treat you.
Right. Yes. And
And you
that's
have like I give so much. I'm also a really big birthday person. Anybody who follows me personally on Instagram, they'll know I do birthday shout outs to all my girls. Like constant, and I mean full page, this is why you're so wonderful. Because for me, you need to celebrate you. I want people to celebrate themselves. I need them to see what other people see.
yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. We have, one of my workshops, when I do workshops on self-love or imposter syndrome, one of the activities is I have people write out, and this is why I'm like, I'm not doing keynotes. I don't want to be talking it. I want to do a workshop. I want people to, because it's
Yes.
so subtle, right? They have to internalize it, and they're not going to internalize it with me just talking. So I have people write out, what are your most negative or self-deprecating thoughts? And some of them write them, and then they're kind of shocked. They're like, I can't believe I say this to something about writing it down, even though it's going on in your head, something about writing it down and seeing it
Makes all the
and
difference.
then, if I have more time in the workshop, I'll say, look at that list and for a minute, pretend you're someone who unconditionally loves you, your partner, your parents,
Yeah.
whatever. Look at that list and be like, oh yeah, that describes her perfectly. She is not good enough for that. No. And everybody starts laughing. And I'm like, so why are you viewing yourself?
Yeah. We
That
have to be our own best friend.
you and the mind, there is a very I usually don't go into like the very philosophical parts of ancient wisdom that I studied, but I did study a lot of different texts like that were written pre-religion, like 10,000 years ago in verse form. Anyway, there's this one verse that says your mind can be your best friend or your worst enemy.
Yeah.
And 80%, this is science, 80% of our thoughts are said to be negative or self-deprecating.
Yeah.
So start to be gentle and kind and compassionate, and get your mind working for you, not this constant fight of, like you said, the kid with the straw throwing the spitball. Like, we can train it
Yes,
differently.
we can train it. And think about what you feel in your body if someone says something negative about your best friend in the whole world. Like, think about how ferociously you stand up to say, I beg your fucking pardon. What did you just say? Where is that passion and protection for you?
Yes.
You
Yes.
have to. And it's funny because I think, especially as women, we have been taught societally and environmentally and sociologically for centuries that it's not proper to do that for yourself. It's not proper to be confident and outspoken. It's not proper. You know what? Fuck proper. I'm sorry, but let's focus on positive mental health and how we're going to get to that place. And how we're going to get to that place is protecting ourselves with the same level of love and ferocity that we would our partner or our children or our best friends.
Yes. What we have learned either through society or, generational trauma, it's like in our DNA of sacrifice, tolerance, service. Like it's, I saw my mom go through 22 years of an abusive marriage, and I always think that happened to me for 5 minutes, I'd be out of there, 22 years. And she was the corporate executive. Like she had, she was an independent woman. She was very, had a very boisterous personality, but still, and it's like, it's time that we start advocating for themselves and break this generational trauma.
Yeah. And it's now getting to the point. I actually did a talk over International Women's Day where we talked about I guess the theme this year was embrace equity, but we talked about equity, but it's a step beyond that. I talked about equity because that was the topic at hand, but I said it's actually justice though that we're seeking. We're seeking the step beyond equity, which is justice. We're seeking that space where it's like, look, this has all been unfair for far too long.
Yeah. That's
So there's equity, but there's some rebalancing of the scales that needs to happen here.
Time.
Right. And so it's going to take work. And would I love to see it in my generation? Yes. That'd be incredible. Do I think that's going to happen? No, I don't, honestly, truthfully. I mean, we just rolled back Roe versus Wade. So there's just no way in my generation we're seeing this. But I have so much hope for the future generations. And my mother literally on her deathbed said that. She was like, you know what? I have so much hope. She was a social worker, a feminist, and activist. And she was like, the next generation, they take no shit. They are not here for this.
Wow. And look at you, like speaking her truth, right?
You
like
have
carrying
to.
that legacy and doing it for and I see with Gen Z, or even like, younger millennials, because I do mindful coaching, for some of my clients, and, the younger males, people who identify as, they're so much more open.
Yeah.
And they understand, and because they're growing up in understanding these very toxic and all unhealthy patterns. And I keep going back to, yes, it's on the onus of the male, the males to realize that the entire world is built and set up for them. It's when you come into the workplace, the history is men provide and women, like, leave it to Beaver. Like women were home, like homemaking and da, da, da. So when you see a woman in the workplace, honor her as a woman in the workplace, not a mom that probably has a husband who is making more than, like, whatever subconscious. And these are not bad people.
No,
they're not bad. It's just,
they haven't lived the reality that we live. And this is the conversation we have constantly, is we all live different realities, and it doesn't make any of our realities less true. Right. but our experiences inform what we know and who we are. And if we don't experience a conversation with people who are other from us, if we are not interacting with people who are other from us, if we're not open-minded enough to have conversations with people who are other from us, that's like how we destroy ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Right? I mean, I am probably as left as they come, but I will sit at my dinner table with anyone and have an open and honest conversation with anyone
yeah,
with the goal of understanding, right?
absolutely.
If
That
you're not
open
going to
mind.
come for understanding, then like, please do not come.
Yeah.
Do not grace my doorstep. But
Yeah.
if you're here to have a conversation that's open and understanding, I'm here for it.
Yeah. And there's a lot to learn. And
There's
again, when
so
we're
much
facing it
on all sides,
there's, yeah, yeah,
right? On all sides. There are things that I don't know people's experiences. I don't know people's life, right?
yeah. And we just become richer humans when we can come from a place of empathy and understanding, you know.
100%. So my last question for you, in this corporate world that you were once a part of, that I was once a part of, that we've all been a part of at some point,
Yeah.
what are we doing that is detrimental to our mental health? How can we shift these changes, Nina?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And we're doing a lot that is detrimental to our mental health. And I feel like since the pandemic, it's gotten worse. We are hyper connected. Everybody has everybody's cell phone numbers. Before it was, meetings or email. Now it's like we're chatting on Teams, we're texting each other, we're disrupting boundaries.
Constantly up in my business.
Up in my grill, weekend emailing and texting, evenings, like it shocks me. Yeah, my boss sent me a text at 9 o'clock on Friday, and I should, we are doing so much that is detrimental to our mental health. And I'm glad to see, I've seen it in my own journey, how much companies are starting to wake up and take accountability for it. But I really think it comes top down.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, the working culture and whatnot, it's really hard to push bottom up. If you have boundaries, it's hard to push bottom up. So the leaders who are listening, it's like, implement boundaries around tech, around working hours. Flexibility is important to people. But we're finally bringing mental health into the workplace and addressing it and taking the barriers down. Like my goal is take the walls down.
Yeah.
Gosh, we took work home for years and years, time to bring, home into, and that it's okay.
Yeah.
We're not being, vulnerable enough. We're not asking the right questions, as it's all about like the P&L and this and that. Have you ever paused? When I was a leader, every quarter, I would meet with all of my direct reports and say, I don't want to hear about the numbers. I don't want to hear about the business. How are you doing?
Yeah.
What's going on? Like, are you challenged? Like, we'd have the work. Are you challenged at work? Do you feel like you love what you do? And then also, how are things at home? No obligation to share anything you want. How are they, just checking in. People want to feel, people want to feel heard. But mental health, when we're going and going and going and going, and we're trying to crack these numbers, and so people are hitting burnout.
Yeah. It's not healthy.
Like that's what's most important. But from a bit, businesses are losing 300 billion annually
From turnover.
like turnover and mental health. People are taking long. So you don't address that right away. Guess what? From a business perspective, you're going to lose someone, then you're going to have to hire someone, then you're going to have to train someone. I mean, there is so much with mental health that there's so much opportunity in the workplace.
There's a culture, I think, too, in sales and marketing, especially. That was my experience, where we placate it with unhealthy habits too. Like, oh, we'll throw a whole bunch of booze at you to keep you motivated.
Right.
And it's like, okay, do you know many recovering alcoholics I have had to manage in that space who were like, I don't feel like being at work is a safe place.
Wow. Yeah.
And I'm like, have we ever thought about this from a point of view where, you think it's nice to give someone $100 LCBO gift card for hitting the best sales of the day or whatever. But what you
Right.
don't know is that's not going to motivate a third of your team because they don't drink.
Struggling. Yeah. And they would prefer, I love that. I love that point. I think it's so important. And the disconnection, the unplugging. I think some countries have it figured out better than others. It's like
Oh yeah.
Europe, Denmark, they just shut down for all of June or all of July. Like nobody, unless you're external, like nobody emails the entire, women leave, men leave at 3 o'clock every day, kids. When they are on vacation, they unplug. And I did a workshop for a company once, and a woman was married, marketing director. She was married to a guy from, I think it was Denmark. And she was saying, they take 3-week vacations because they feel it takes 2 weeks just to get into vacation mode. And then you can finally unwind. In North America, other parts of the world, it's like, we can't even take a fucking day
or a weekend.
or a weekend, even staycation.
I remember having this exact conversation with one of the VPs when I was in corporate. And I said, listen, hear me out. What if, to find more work-life balance, we move to a 4-day on, 3-day off, 3-day on, 4-day off schedule? You could double your workforce. You'd have more redundancy. People would be paid really well. You'd never have people out sick. People would totally be willing to fill in. And people generally would have more like work-life balance. And I remember he looked me in the face and was like, where do you think we live?
Are you crazy?
And he was out of the States, and I laughed really hard, and I was like, yeah, okay, I guess I'm selling to the wrong person. And then I was talking to the VP of people who I like loved. We had these wonderful, I would get to work like an hour before everybody else because my days were bananas. I would have to schedule pee breaks. That's how crazy
What?
my days were.
What's wrong with the world? I'm sorry.
Right?
You have to schedule a pee break?
It was
Come on.
nuts. It was back to back to back to back and on different floors too. So you're like running upstairs to get to a different, it was bananas. But I'd get super early to go through my 1,200 emails. And during that time would sit with the VP of people who was always super early too. And we'd have these great conversations about how we could bring more balance into a corporate space. How can we make this happen? And I'd pitch things and she's like, I love that idea. I love that. But the thing is the realistic implementation of it, I saw the writing on the wall, was never going to happen. The people who were in the CEO level, they're not going to make that shift.
Right.
But it'll only take a couple people in that level in large companies to make that shift and for the world to see.
And now there is data about all these companies who have moved to a 4-day work week that are as or more efficient.
Of course.
For 5 days.
Of course.
Yeah, you wonder, yeah, because when they're working those 4 days, they're going to be mindful. They're going to be present. They're going to do they're not going to be like, oh, when we have all this extra time, it's like, we have more time to think. We have more time, and the efficiency is just drawn out versus like, let me get it all done in 4 days. So there are ways. And, I hope there are more and more leaders. I was talking to CMO a while back and she goes, when people check in on vacation, if one of my directors goes on vacation, I like it because it's an opportunity for me to see someone under them step up and start. So when they start emailing the director on vacation, they're blocking that opportunity for that person to have visibility to me and me to them. So I really think it's about establishing very clear rules around balance. No one's going to email after 5 o'clock and the leaders have to hold to it. The leaders really have, because if the leaders aren't doing it, it's not going to happen. Just what I've seen. So there is so much opportunity for mental health. And I feel like there's this fear with the C-suite that, we talk about mental health, we start putting boundaries, we're not going to get as much out of our employees. It's actually
so much more. Yeah. So much more.
And all that's going to come with it, the retention. I mean, who's counting that stuff?
I mean, how often have you felt so overwhelmed that you can't take another piece of information into your brain? How often have I had this happen to me the other day. I was feeling overwhelmed. I was going through all the stuff that I had coming up and I went, oh gosh, that's a lot. And I had like a little bit of like moment. And then my husband was like, he asked me like a really mundane question, like, is this lettuce still good? Can you look at it? And I was like, what? And I literally turned around and looked at him and I'm like, like, this isn't a decision you can do. Like, and so
And
we
again, the mom thing, right? Let me, because I can't tell if there's a bruised part of the lettuce. Like,
like, what?
you're not incapable.
He's not a cook and he's not a food. So I hear you, but it was one of those, like, I was already feeling super overwhelmed. He asked me that question. And I thought to myself, the first thing I thought to myself when I reacted and was like, what? I was like, okay, I need to slow it down a little bit here because I know I have a lot going on, but it's just going to be one foot in front of the other. I take July and August generally off of my coaching clients because I have kids home and someone once said to me, you only get 18 summers with them if you're lucky.
Oh my
And my
goodness.
head was like, what? Oh
Oh
my
my,
gosh. I
yeah.
never considered that.
Wow. It's so true.
So you
It's,
have 18 summers and my son's 7. So I'm like, there's going to be a point like 7 to 8 years, he's going to want nothing to do with me. So
yeah. You
let's
need
try
her.
and fill the summers with some great experiences and some fun family time. And let's not have overworked mommy. I don't want overworked mommy throughout the summer. I want maybe a workshop here and there, mommy, but not like full blown, full schedule
Yeah.
mommy.
Yeah.
So I, you know, I try and have seasons of work where like my spring and winter is relatively busy. My September to November is relatively busy, but July and August, I try and do very little. And December is almost a write off, anyways. Most people are checked out at that point.
Right. Yeah.
So that's fine.
Or
Right.
holiday mode. And it's like, I'll wait till January to work on myself. But yeah, the summer months in December are, it's convenient, right? Because
Yeah,
that's
and so and no one
when,
wants to tend like I do my programs over online, so no one wants to sit in front of a computer on a beautiful July afternoon. Like, go out and enjoy the world. The sunshine is here for you. Let it let it soak in.
especially here where we only get like 3 months of time.
Right? And well, and that's it. We moved to cottage country, so I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't embrace the 2 months that I love most in the year and was out there on the lake on my paddle board or swimming or just embracing the beautiful, magical place I live in. That's
Yeah.
why we're here.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch it from my office window.
Right. Absolutely.
I need to be in it.
Right. And it's giving ourselves permission, even though we're A types, yeah, we can take some time off and we're not any less, you know, impactful or efficient or powerful, or all of that stuff doesn't go away. In fact, it
No.
only enhances. Because I know when I work, as an entrepreneur, yeah, there's some days where I'm working all day. There's some days where I'm like, I have meetings in the morning and then I take the half day to just do me. And I am so much more productive.
Yes.
I'm doing me here and there, and I'm giving myself permission to.
Yeah, 100%. I fully binged Queen Charlotte Bridgerton last week as
Yeah.
like, I need an afternoon to myself. I've been dealing with
Yes.
vertigo. I've had it for over a month. So I'm trying to charge my way through the day. And then I'm like, okay, you know what? I had 3 clients this morning. I'm going to have lunch. I think I'm just going to watch Bridgerton.
And giving yourself permission to do that guilt free,
Guilt
because
free.
the income's coming in, you're doing a service to your client, you're doing all the other boxes are checked. So why do we have to be like, oh, and I think that's the other thing with A types. It's like at some point, and I don't know if I'd outwardly say this to my corporate clients, but like at some point the money doesn't outweigh the stress,
It
right?
doesn't.
So at some point, unless you want to, a lot of us are in corporate because of the shoulds. We went
Yeah.
to business school. Oh, you should have this one. You should work on the next promotion. You should be getting this. You should be getting paid this much by this age. Da, da, da. By this age, you should be this. But what should is really important to us? Maybe the should that's important to us is I should spend more time with my family. I should spend more time on me. And
Yeah.
are we listening to that? And at some point, if you're a corporate person by nature, and I have seen them and they want to be and they excel and they're incredible at it, and they're all early colleagues are now like VPs and CMOs now. Amazing. That's what you're meant to do. Own it and go for it. But if you're chugging along and there's this, conflict between what you want to do and the shoulding,
Yeah.
at some point, it's like, what is that extra $20,000? Is it really worth?
Yeah, it really isn't. I can tell you from experience, it's golden handcuffs, right?
The golden, yeah.
Wasn't it so nice to make all that money and hate my life every single day? Not hate it, but like struggle through, be tired, not have time for me, not have any other focus other than work, right? I ran 2 businesses at the same time as working full time. I was out of my mind. Like I was doing too much, right? So recognizing all of that, slowing it all down. I have this needlepoint thing in my front hall that says, "What's the rush?"
Yeah.
What's the rush? Where are you headed?
Gosh, man.
Our legacy.
I'm like, I think I need to be selling coconuts on the beach in Thailand.
Right?
A rush.
Oh man, we went to Hawaii for my honeymoon. We went to Maui and I never wanted to leave. And I cried so hard the day we left.
Oh.
I was like, but I belong on a beach forever.
Me too. You and I, girl. I know I was in Hawaii last year and I'm like, I belong. I've been meditating on that. Talk about manifesting. I've been manifesting oceans.
I just love it. Me too. I'm actually hoping to run a retreat in the fall. I'm currently looking at Curacao. And it would be a week where we do the whole 9 weeks of my super type A attempt at being Zen into that week on the ocean.
Sounds amazing.
Right? If 5 people, only 5 people. So I'm hoping it comes together the way that I'm envisioning it, but I'm not settling. It has to be perfect.
Guess what? It's not.
Yeah.
But I'm so grateful for this conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nina, for joining us. It was a real delight, and I'm so glad we had a chance to connect, and I truly hope that this is not the last time we cross paths.
It won't be. There's just too many synchronicities and similarities, and just with your corporate background and everything. So I love chatting with you, and it won't be the last. So thank you. I'm so honored for you to have me on. And we will chat again, but I hope for the listeners, you all just feel just more comfortable in your skin, doing you, honoring you, and everything will fall into place.
Absolutely. Great advice, straight from Nina. All right, we'll see you all soon. And this was our season finale for season 1. So definitely join us for season 2. It is already filling up with guests, and I can't wait to have you all back. Go back and listen to all the great advice that's come through this whole season. There's so much of it. I'm thinking about it constantly. So I hope you guys are enjoying listening as much as I'm enjoying recording these wonderful chats. Have a great day. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Visit www.yorkmotivational.com for more information on my Super Type A Attempt at Being Zen, the coaching program, Lead Without Permission, or visit our contact page to reach out to Risha. Wishing you all continued balance and fulfillment on your road to Zen.